welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate and Stuff. Coming to you not live because Carlos, as you can see, is in the Baltimore office and speaks to his network. The man goes to more weddings than anybody I know. Traveling again, sir?
A lot of weddings. Traveling, and then Baltimore, and then to Asheville. Two nieces have the same birthday, so I always am there for July 13th. And it feels hotter here than Florida, honestly.
I don't know how that's possible, but
yeah,
I mean, I'm not doubting you. Now that you've lived in Florida for a while, I assume you can judge temperature well.
No, I've lived in both places. He's dead wrong. Dead wrong.
It might just feel like it. Your feelings and thoughts aren't always accurate.
No, well, it also depends. I mean, I've never lived in Miami, but I mean, you live by the beach, so you get an ocean breeze. My mom used to tell me. So my mom grew up in Miami back in like the Stone Age.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, my whole family was from Miami.
I didn't realize that.
She claims that back in the day, before all the sky rises and everything, she lived, I forget where, but kind of like in from the beach. But you would get beach breezes all the time.
Yeah.
And I guess it's not like that anymore. But she's like, oh, it was never that hot down there. I'm like, well, that's because you had the ocean breeze wafting into your screen patio while you laid by the pool. And this was the 60s, you know. But
oh, gosh. I could imagine the ocean breeze does help a little bit.
But which kind of leads me into what I was messaging you guys about. So this is the time of year that Floridians get upset with our temperature, and we look to escape the heat. And I can't do it this. Yeah, I can't do it this year because we have a brand new baby. So we're not going on our typical North Carolina or Pennsylvania trips. And so didn't stop me from searching though. So I started looking, and I'm not looking at vacations. So at first I was just looking at houses for sale up on the lakes that I like in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Now I have found so many, like when I'm scrolling through Zillow and stuff, looking at the comments, they all say has been, active producing, vacation rental, good producing vacation rental, comes fully furnished, active vacation, all this stuff. And so I have been looking at North Carolina real estate since I went to Lake Glenville last year.
Yeah.
Right. So that whole like west North Carolina, you know what I mean? So Franklin all the way over to like where Fontana Lake and Nantahala National Forest is.
What?
I can't. Right. How do you say it?
Nantahala?
Nantahala?
Is it? I don't know that one. Is it spelled Nath?
Naatm, whatever. I don't know.
Okay, no idea.
Somebody can correct us in the comments later on.
Please let us know. Correct spelling.
I have never noticed that before. Last year, maybe I saw one here or there. But this year, like today, last night when I was laying in bed scrolling, I was like, man, like there are so many people selling their Airbnbs right now. And it's not just Lake Glenville, right? Like I'm looking at like 3 different lakes, like from Bryson City all the way down to Lake Santa Tila, however you say that, all the way back over to like Highlands County, like Cashiers and Franklin. And it's like so many of them.
And we talked about this in a previous episode that it's going to happen when the market shifts.
So there was
inflation gets high.
There was that tweet that came out from that one guy that said that Airbnb revenue is down 50% across major cities like Austin, like Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Like
the girl said it was the one with that girl saying that out of Dallas or something.
Something like that. But Airbnb refutes that, and I've seen other influencers get on, dive into AirDNA data and be like, no, that's not true. Airbnb came out and said they only saw a 3% decline. And in some areas, like the revenue is increasing, but I argue with that because it's like I guess I have no factual data. I have no actual data. This is all what I call common sense, logic, and deduction.
Yeah.
Okay. Eggs are like fucking $11 right now. Like cheese, a block of cheese I bought the other day is $6. And I'm just saying to myself, like, and I was talking to a guy in Orlando about his property, and he was bitching about like just groceries. And he's like, I can't get out of the store. for like, I have one kid, I can't get out of the store for less than $200. And I was like,
Yeah.
I got 4. I can't get out of the store for less than like 300 to 400.
Same.
It's insane. High on top of that, gas prices still,
Mm-hmm.
car prices still, rent is. I'm still jacking up rent for my rent. Like everything is still up. Inflation is stealing away the American dollar. I don't see how people are going, you know what? Let's go to this Airbnb at $450 a night, plus a $300 cleaning fee, plus taxes, plus service fees, and let's spend the gas money to get up there. Go buy groceries because now that we're at an Airbnb, we got to cook all of our fucking meals, which means there's going to be a lot of waste, right? When you go to an Airbnb, there's a lot of waste because you're buying spices, you're buying all these things, butter that you're not going to use all of on your
Right.
3-day or 5-day vacation. And let's go do that. And that to me right there says there's going to be a lot of people that say, I'm not doing that this year. I'm not
Agreed.
going to do that next year. And that tells me that, yes, revenues will come down. And then, yes, I see a lot of people will sell their Airbnbs. They did a thing that said Airbnbs are only 1% to 4% of the total supply of houses. So it's not like it's going to cause a decline in prices, but it still is going to add to it. There's going to be some pressure put. Those are my thoughts.
I totally agree. Something's up with your mic. I boosted you up there, Papa P, but I'm not sure what's happening. Yeah, no, I mean, we went through the same thing. So we usually we do turtles in July. So we start that on Saturday. And then in August, we like to go to the mountains. We went looking, and and not only like is inflation like, you know, everybody's budget's all screwed up and therefore you have to compensate for that, but just Airbnb rental rates are ridiculously high. They keep going up. I don't know, like, if they're like, we're getting less bookings, so therefore we have to increase the rental rates so that the rich people that do come in can compensate for the normal people that aren't coming anymore. I don't know if that's a factor, but it's so ridiculously expensive to get into an Airbnb now.
Yeah, it is, man.
I mean, it used to be you could find something around $100 a night that was good, was a nice place.
Yeah.
Now those are like $250. It's ridiculous.
And I think those people. So like, I was talking that guy in Orlando. We were kind of discussing. He was asking my thoughts on it as someone in the industry, and I'm not in the Airbnb industry, just in real estate. But I think those people who can afford that are the people, and they're the gurus, or maybe not the gurus, but the people who always you see on social media, like, I own 6 properties and they make me this much. Well, that's because you bought those properties in 2015, 16. And yeah, so your debt, it makes sense, right? Your purchase price to what you have to cover, like all your costs, it all makes sense that you charge a lower rate. And yeah, through the frothy period, you charge more. But the people now that bought in like 22, 21, 20 at these high prices and said, well, this makes sense at these high Airbnb rates, I think those are the people that are causing because they have to charge more.
They have to increase their daily rate. And so everybody else is like,
it's no different. Yeah, it's no different than what I have to do in the parks. Because the seller wants more money, and because the interest rates are high, or because of my debt coverage, for me to make a return that my investors want, I have to charge my customers or my tenants more. Now, listen, hey, Mr. Seller, if you don't want me to raise the rents, charge me half the price you want to leave. And that's not going to happen, right? So I have to raise the rents. But that's what I see is happening. I was looking at a mortgage calculator because my mom had showed me this Airbnb by her house, and I argued with her, and I was like, Ma, there is no way that's an Airbnb. I was like, that's not even freaking possible. Like, you're not going to make any money on that. And because they bought it for $600, and so you figure what, they put 20% down. So what is that? You got like and I don't know what the exact purchase price was, but let's just say $480,000.
Yeah.
I mean,
so hold on, they're selling it now?
No, they have it on, and she proved me wrong, and she pulled it up on Airbnb.
Yeah.
So I mean, even at like 400, it's still going to be 2,300, 480. That's a $3,000 a month mortgage at like a 6.5, 6.7 interest. So you're putting $120K down. You got a 480. You got $3,000 mortgage with PMI. I mean, come on, like, and that's the thing. This is Lakeland.
Yeah. What are
We're
they
not
charging
even a
for it?
destination. So they use what looks to be dynamic pricing, because when I checked all the different days, because you go in. So the day that I was looking, it was $231, but it looks like their average pricing is like $400. But again,
for just a normal house in a neighborhood in the middle of nowhere.
That's not. It's around, that nice area that I described to you guys of where I want to live. My mom lives there, and it's like, it's right.
She lives in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I had. Long story short, but yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So you have to occupy that property. You're going to need a really high occupancy rate to cover your debt. I don't know why people are coming to Lakeland and wanting to spend $300, $400 a night on a house. Yeah, it's facing a lake, but it's not like it's a lake that you're going. It's not like there's a marina there where you're hopping on a kayak and paddleboard. Like you can't even bring a boat in unless you go over. You need your own boat. So bring your own boat, go down to the public launch, and then launch your boat, and that's how you enjoy the lake.
When did Airbnb come out? I'm trying to think in the back of my head of my first experience, because part of the appeal of it, as we're talking about pricing and being profitable on it and a good customer experience, it was almost like buying a wholesale deal from a wholesaler. Like, part of the reason you're staying there is it might be more economic than a hotel, right? And now it's
some of the first Airbnbs I stayed in were not the best, and then it kind of turned more into a luxury experience.
It progressed.
Yeah,
it progressed. It went from, oh, here's my spare house or my spare apartment or in-law suite, to, oh my goodness, here's a regular house, and now it's like themed. And those are the ones that I think will last. And I think those are the ones that will last because you have a reason to go there. And I also think the ones will last that are the people that don't need the revenue to be so high to keep their property. It is like an ancillary type of income stream. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to have the problem with the people who are running Airbnb businesses and need that high income to meet their debt, their debt coverage.
Yeah. Or and it's super fancy, location. If it's got a really good location downtown,
but it wasn't even
close to Disney.
In major metros. But again, this is Lakeland,
right?
And there's another one. It's an Epic house, right next door to this one. Huge, very big family in our area who owns a business. I guess they remodeled it. Now they moved somewhere else to an even awesomer house, I guess. They're Airbnb-ing it, but when I looked at the pictures, dude, it's got neon lights, it's themed, you're talking a multi-million-dollar house that anybody would love to buy for their family, with pools and trampolines and but they're charging so when I looked, it was $450, but their dynamic pricing, it looks like their regular rate is $750. And again, I'm saying to myself, one, that's a big house, so maybe I'm bringing my family down.
Multiple families.
Why am I coming to Lakeland to vacation?
Oh, I mean, Disney is 45 minutes?
Yeah, it's not. You're not staying. I mean, you would stay in Davenport before you stay in Lakeland. But again, I think because they may not need the money, they're Airbnb-ing it because it's a great house to keep in their family. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just think there's common sense tells me there's gonna be some problems.
I agree. I mean, I look forward to the Airbnb prices to go down again. That'd be phenomenal.
No, I don't necessarily. Yeah, I do want them to go down. I want the fucking cleaning fees to go away. Back in the day, you should be paying your cleaning fee out of the money that I pay you.
Yeah.
That should be coming. You're not charging me and then telling me. I remember the Airbnb I stayed at. The guy's like, "Can you strip the beds and put it in the laundry?" I'm like, "Fuck you, dude."
Paying a $250 cleaning fee. What the hell do I need to do that for?
Yeah, I just paid $7,000 for a week at your place.
Mm-hmm.
And it was shitty, dude. It was so shitty. I love Glenville, I do, but the house we stayed at, there might have been diseases on some of the mattresses and pillows. This guy didn't give a shit about his property. There was cobwebs and spider webs everywhere. I was cleaning the place. Some of the cushions on the sun bench were brown and matted in, somebody's butt had been sitting there for 30 years nonstop, and they just got up and the fucking fluffing and pushed to the side. It was atrocious, dude. And
for the amount of money, yeah, absolutely.
The amount of money that I spent, the yard wasn't clean. None of the kayaks were cleaned off. Me and my daughter had to spray the kayaks down, clean them off. that's why I'm not in Airbnb, is because it's a hospitality.
Right.
100%.
Your job is to make my stay flawless.
Yeah, experiential hospitality industry for sure.
Which is where Carlos said it kind of went to, right? Like, it wasn't like that, but now I think it's becoming that. I don't know.
My brother-in-law is really good at that. They had a couple houses in Raleigh, but before they moved to Asheville, they had a house in Raleigh, and they Airbnb'd out the bottom unit. I think I've mentioned to you guys before. And they made it like really, really cool. They made it like Western theme, like the skeleton with the horns. I'm forgetting what animal that is, maybe a bull or something, but all different type of stuff. And they had like their own access in there, and always had like a fresh thing of wine and like a nice note with their names and stuff. Really good communications. He really excels at that, like organizing stuff and making like a really good experience. So they're looking to do that because they moved into a new house in downtown Asheville to be like closer to work, and they wanted like neighbor for the kids and stuff, which they've been like hanging out with all the neighborhood kids, which is awesome. So they're going to Airbnb the one out that's on 7 acres with like pool and goat farms and everything like that.
Nice.
So when I go there this week, we're going to look at some pricing and see what's on there. But I think the highest they could get is like in the 400s. And I think there are some similar listings that are like the 400s.
You want the highest, right? Like, see, I said that, the highest. They're not saying, oh, what's the minimum I could do?
Right.
They're immediately going to want, and that's the American way, right? Like, we're going to max it out. But I think demand will go down, and we'll bring those prices down to where it doesn't make sense for a lot of people. So we have our house out in Steamboat, my family, and we have it on a long-term rental. And because, long story, but and I've been trying to get my family to be like, okay, let's do an Airbnb on this thing. So we can go use it too. And I was looking at rates, and like, it's where they're ranging, $200 a night to $450, $500 a night for anywhere from a condo to a house. But again, like, that's on a resort, that's on a mountain, you know what I mean? So like, you have a reason to go there.
Yeah.
Some of these to pay that, right? Like, even off season, on season, you're going for the hiking, the mountain. I mean, people vacation in Steamboat. Some people are buying Airbnbs in the wildest of places just because, and I get where John's going, is like John said, well, yeah, it's like $100 a night. I'm just looking for a nice place to stay that's not a hotel, like, and at $100 or $150, it made sense.
But you can't do that right now with mortgages and everything.
You can't do that with the mortgages. You can't do that on Airbnb anyway, because by the time the fees are done and the cleaning fees are added in, and then I still need to account for my food. Like, when I fly out to Arkansas, like, I'm not a big breakfast eater. I don't, because I fast, but there's occasions where like I will if I have a headache or whatever. Yeah. And like, I make sure my wife gets me something with a continental. She books my hotel, and it's like, I want something with a continental breakfast because I want to eliminate that one meal. I got room service. I got a gym. I leave my towels in a pile. I don't worry about it. Yeah. Like, and I'm gone. But with Airbnb, and they don't charge me, no matter how messy I'm sure if I left it, like, if I partied up in there and broke everything, no matter like how messy I leave that place, they don't come at me with a cleaning fee.
Right.
And plus, they want me to take their towels with them. So you get free towels every time you go to a hotel.
They want you to take your towels with you? I've not heard that before.
Yeah, bro. Hotels want you to take their towels.
Your mic's getting weird again.
You don't take towels from a hotel?
No. Is this something you've done for your entire life? I've never even heard of this.
So I'm the only. Nobody here takes towels from the hotel?
I've taken a towel from the gym in Baltimore that I used to go to accidentally in my gym bag.
Bro, if I can fit, listen. all my towels at my house, with the exception of like a couple really nice ones. With the exception of a couple really nice ones, like, they all come from hotels.
Yeah. Interesting. Maybe I should start doing that. I mean, they obviously don't inventory the towels and charge you for it.
Yeah. Hey, in this economy, you gotta save.
My dad was a traveling salesman, and he would always come home with towels and like soaps and shampoos and stuff, and we would have like a big box of soaps and shampoos in the basement. So when, me or my sisters needed soap or shampoo, we would just like go to the box, and we would go to the box and we would get shampoo and stuff, but all of our towels, all of them, they would say Holiday Inn, Ramada.
Yeah.
And that's what
do
ours
you
are.
know other people that do this? Do you know anybody else that does this?
No, I just feel like it's a thing.
Yeah, I could see it being a thing. So you have the best of both worlds. You have an Airbnb feel when you hosted people, but you had hotel branded shampoo and toiletries. So you're kind of mixing both together.
Listen,
The best of both worlds.
what I do is like I'll get my towels and I immediately ask for more towels when I get there, and then the next day when I see a maid in the hallway, I go, hey, can I grab some towels? And whatever I get from the maid, I immediately put in my suitcase if I have room. And I'll come home and I feel like my wife's extremely happy with me. I'm like, honey, look, I'm coming with towels. We have more towels now. Look, I got hand towels. I got
I know it was gone for a while, but look what I've added to the house.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Here, I'm going to mute you, Brandon, for a sec so we can figure out if it's your audio. Yeah, no, I've never stolen towels. We might have to start doing that. We don't really go to hotels anymore because we have dogs, but I don't know. You said you never stolen one, right, Carlos?
Not from a hotel, accidentally from my gym in Baltimore, Canton Merritt. If you guys want to ring me up, I'm still you guys probably still have my credit card information if somebody happens to be listening. But that is funny, and we've talked about the differences between like hotel and Airbnb, and both you guys are family fathers. So even the last trip I was in Phoenix, hotel was definitely super nice, like gym and stuff there, coffee when you go down to the lobby. You don't need to cook your own stuff. Like that's super convenient. A restaurant right in there. So like I got back from being at an event for 12 hours in a day, and then just go get like a chicken sandwich and some fruit.
Mm-hmm. Chicken sandwich for sure. Got to get the chicken sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
It depends. You know, like you also can't get a hotel like Lake Glenville, some of these lakes. I can't get there's no hotel. There's no hotel on the lake. So if I want to stay on the lake, I have to get an Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Either way, I think there's going to be some change. I am hoping that the prices of some of these Airbnbs come on the market and bring some prices down, as we're always looking for a place in North Carolina to escape this crazy heat.
Mm-hmm.
There was listings.
There was a guy, speaking of Orlando and Airbnbs, at one of the last wholesaler meetups in Miami. There was a guy in Orlando, Airbnb guru guy. His name's Andres. I forget what his last name is. You may be familiar if you know Airbnb people in that area. But he started out with Airbnbs, buying a house, traditional financing, finishing up the garage, like furnishing the garage for like $5 or $10K, renting or Airbnb-ing that out. And I forget, it was maybe like a 3-bedroom house. And that's like his blueprint, I think, of like the course he sells is like furnishing the garage, Airbnb-ing that out, while also Airbnb-ing out whatever extra bedrooms that you have. So you're pretty much living with roommates, but it's like the fastest, most efficient way to like cover the mortgage and pay down the debt. And I guess there are some banks, I want to say there's some banks or other options where you can maybe refinance once that you show you're making money there or a certain amount of profit. And then you essentially just refi out of that, roll that into another Airbnb property. But I think he has like 50 or 60 units doing that in Orlando area.
Like depending on where he bought them at and what he could do, I think Airbnb revenue is going to go down.
Definitely.
I'm not saying Airbnb is a bad business. Again, me and my family want to Airbnb our steamboat property out, just to make more money. There you go, to make more money. But it doesn't make sense. And you know what? Enough on the Airbnb. You just brought this when you said the garage thing. Can we talk about Pad Split for a second? Have you guys heard about Pad Split? This is the most wild, crazy fucking thing. So I had heard. So Pad Split is essentially where you rent it out by the room. So like
on Airbnb or just in general?
It's a whole other thing, dude. It's not even Airbnb.
It's like fractional Airbnb.
Yeah, it's like I have a 4-bedroom house. I find 4 people to rent each room and they share the common area. Listen, I get it. Housing is becoming more expensive. I understand, but I think real estate investors are the finance industry's version of like mortgage-backed securities. Like, we will find any way to chop up a fucking house to make more money. And now pad splits is the latest Frankenstein version of how we can make more money. Now, it was a common thing. I had went years ago to a mastermind, and a woman got up and said about how she's making money doing student housing.
Right. That's where I see it working. Students.
Because I go to John and I say, hey, and how she did it is she goes to the ringleader, John, and says, I'm going to rent this out by the room, but it's your job to pick your roommates, and here's how much it is.
But now they handle all that on their own.
But now it's like I'm renting out pad split rooms to a bunch of fucking. I feel like this is like real world MTV in real fucking life. Like, throw some cameras up, because like, how are you putting me in a house with a bunch of fucking strangers and not worried about liability?
Right? Yes.
Like, with the amount of like weird just shit going on in this world and the freaks out there.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
How are you? And I saw a guy on Facebook. He put up on a Facebook group, and he was like, I'm building a pad split. And it was like, just picture a square, right? And I was like, how the fuck is this at first? And then I read his comments, and it goes bedroom, 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 right? Kitchen, bathroom. There's bathrooms mixed in. And I'm like, so basically, it's like a door. You made a dormitory.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
You just made a dorm, bro. Like, this isn't genius. You did it. You making dormitories for adults, because, and their reason is like, well, housing is so expensive, people can't afford a place to rent. And I get it. But like, do I really like, college was tough enough with my roommate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, random chicks coming in and out. Like, he'd have friends over. I'd have friends over. There'd be parties at night. Like, how do you navigate that? And at least we were all 19, 21-year-olds, right? Like, that was our life. We had no responsibility. We had no jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's part of the, I mean, I think whoever's doing that, like, that's part of the premium you're not paying. It's like you're getting a cheaper, affordable place, but like those variables are, you're open to those variables, and also hopefully the people that are renting them out put something in the lease or set some type of expectation of like, hey, your roommates have this, because obviously the humans are animals, and they're going to have different religious beliefs, political beliefs,
100%.
food,
but in college,
kitchen, stuff like that.
Picked your roommate though. You picked. Like, I remember when I picked my roommate, like, and we're still friends today, I went up and I knocked on his door and I was like, yo, bro, listen, like, I got this place. You got your place. Like, we're both paying out the ass. Like, do you just want to, like, room together? We get along. You know what I mean? Like, we get along. We're friends. We hang out. Like, you're looking for a new place. Do you just want to move in my other room and, like, we'll split the rent? And he's like, yeah. A week later, we moved his shit in, and we were roommates for the next, like, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, boom.
It does kind of remind me of like Ready Player One. I can't remember if you guys have both seen that, but it kind of reminds me
recently. I rewatched it.
It's good.
Good movie.
It's really good.
Scary movie.
I love that movie. Yeah. That was a good
great
movie.
flick. But it kind of reminds me of that with like the pads. And did we originally talk about that in like San Francisco? They were doing that where it's like they're maybe paying like $1,000 a month. It's like a big thing, but they all share. It's like 10 different people, and it's just stacked on top of each other. That's maybe what's happening. Maybe with some commercial stuff that's deflated right now. Maybe some.
I'm just saying it won't last. I guess I brought it up because I wanted to make a statement in 2023 that this is the dumbest abomination of housing, and I think there's going to be a huge blowback. I don't get it, and I could be wrong. I hope I am for all these people building pad splits, but I just feel as if like the world does not want or need this.
Mm-hmm. I think that can happen with stuff that's on the market too, right? Like with sellers that have higher expectations of what they think their house can sell for, maybe in more like higher end markets too.
And again, I feel like people are only doing this because the prices are high, and they're like, how can I make more money off of this 5-bedroom house? Oh, I'll rent each room out for $800. What about my kitchen? Where's my food going? Am I sharing 5?
You have to have like 5 refrigerators.
Yeah, that was what I was wondering. Are there 5 fridges, 5 who's doing the chores? Mm-hmm. I now have to coordinate chores, or I would love to bring a pad split person on. Carlos, if you know anybody, and I would love to get them to try to explain the lunacy of this. And like, okay, who's cleaning the piss off the toilet? Because it's not my piss.
Like because the other thing too is it's not like everybody leaves at the same time and you like can redo the house. Like in the case of college, it's like everybody rents together. It's one lease. Everybody moves out together.
You move out at the end of the
in
semester,
and redo. It's like I've got one tenant leaving, 4 still here, but the place is destroyed. I've got to go in and like redo 3 bathrooms. Like, what the fuck?
People working from home.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, get out of my Zoom meeting.
Like, how do you manage that? And I unless it is like the college situation where you pick your roommates, like I'll rent this out, you pick your roommates, I'll do it by the room. That makes sense to me, but I don't get how it's just different. Like, and again, I feel like the only demographic of people who are going to want to do this are going to be young, no responsibility 20-21-year-olds. But then you have the partying, you have the mess. Like back in college, like our place was clean, but it wasn't clean. And we were fine with it. Like there was beer can, like we were cool with what was going on. I don't know.
It reminds me too, like you're talking about Ready Player One, but have you guys seen like some of the housing that's in China in the cities? Like people have like a giant dog crate is the only way that I can call it. Giant dog crate, and then they're stacked on top of each other. Yeah. And then it's like shared restrooms and stuff.
It's wild.
Shove as many people into a place as possible. It's like they built little rooms in rooms.
And I get that. And there was in China, I forget what city, but they had converted a hotel in the little rooms into apartments, right? And then inside of the hotel, there was businesses and restaurants, like out of these rooms. It was like there was a market in the hallway. Like they had converted this gigantic, what was supposed to be a luxury hotel, into an apartment complex, which then turned into like its own mini city. I get it. Overcrowding, you're doing that. Inaffordability of housing, I understand that. But pad split, huh?
Yeah.
Like that's where
you got to know what you're signing up for. I guess like it's not going to be ideal, and hopefully it's like significantly discounted.
What about men versus women?
Expectations.
Are you co-ed?
Right.
Listen, and as someone with daughters, it's like,
we need more information right now. The speculation sounds horrible.
Because I get the world shouldn't be like that, and that's how when I talk to my daughter about how the world is, she goes, well, that doesn't make sense, Dad. Like, why do I have to worry? Like, why can't people just be, gentlemanly or what? I don't want to say the words, but you know what I mean? And it's like, I go, honey, I get that's not how it's supposed to be, but that's how it is, and you need to be aware of that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, so you have these 20-year-old girls, like, is the owner of this property allowing guys of the same age to co-ed live in the same house where you're sharing is that what this is? Because I don't see how that's winding up safe at fucking all. Strangers. It's not even like you have any type of bond with these people.
Just random.
Like, this is real world, bro. And we saw what happened on the Real World MTV. Shit got crazy.
Never saw it.
Arguably my favorite Chappelle skit of all time is Mad Real World, if you're familiar with that pop.
Never saw Real World on MTV back in the 90s? Like,
what happens when you put 6 strangers in
I was raised by 2 people that went to Bible college. MTV
a lot of drama
did not show in our house.
Bro, it was a lot of drama, a lot of sex, a lot of arguing, a lot of partying, a lot of alcohol. Like
I can imagine.
It was just debauchery.
Yeah.
And that's what I think Pad Split is, like a glorified fraternity.
Mm. We should definitely get somebody on and talk about it.
What happens if I want to have my friends over? And like we just want to
sit? You can have them over.
Like, can I? What if you're working from home? Like, what are the rules?
It may not be a great experience, and it's probably going to lead to tensions because people don't over communicate all that stuff. So, I mean, you could have them over in a tight space.
That sounds weird. How many of these are there, though? That's what I'm
curious about.
Maybe there are like 100 of these across the United States.
I feel like I'm going to make a post on Instagram asking if any of my followers do Pad Split and if they want to get on this fucking podcast. I suggest you do the same. I would love, like, I'm speaking from a position of lack of knowledge and only assumptions because I don't know. I was talking to a woman, a realtor in my area, and I've known her for a long time. We've all progressed in our careers, and I was selling a piece of land, and she was like, hey, I'm not interested in this, but if you have anything that would be blank, blank, blank pad split, and I go, you do pad split? And she's like, yeah, I'm looking for pad splits. And I'm like, Okay. It's like, I'll keep that in mind if I come across a random 8-bedroom house. I'll let you know.
Oh God.
So it's
I'm on
out
there
there.
right
There's
now.
people now looking for pad splits, and like that's the new thing.
Can just
But
see it on the news. Shit goes
yeah,
crazy at the pad split.
pad split, rape, murder, fucking fire started, like just all kinds of criminal. I feel like it's a hotbed for criminal activity.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's take this question or this train of thought into another area since we've talked about Airbnbs and pad splits. Let's just talk about housing affordability. So
There is no housing affordability.
right. So it's like an interesting problem, and I feel like it's not getting any better. So I know everybody that like rents from big places specifically. I think smaller renters, people like I have a couple of properties are less aggressive about raising rents, but like rents just keep going up and up and up and up, and they don't seem to stop. What would take them? What would it take for them to come down? And what would it take for there to like be some kind of sense of what's logical in these things?
Supply is the only thing, in my opinion.
The
Supply
main
is
thing for sure.
an influx of supply, which causes the competition to increase, which causes the prices to decrease, which causes the ability of having options, and you picking the best one where you get into a competition thing. But here's the thing: having worked with the hedge funds back in the day before hedge funds became crazy. Hang on a second.
All right.
Yeah, supply would be the main thing though. Like that's kind of one of the main economic drivers of anything. Supply and demand is going to be the very first
So, like, is
thing
that
that kind
what's
of influences
affecting,
price.
like, do you feel like single family rents? Because, like, when I look around at the Orlando market, nobody's fucking building single family homes anymore.
Mhm.
All of they're building is apartments. So I could see the supply of apartment units increasing in Orlando, and therefore, like, maybe the prices of apartments. But if nobody's building new homes and renting them in Orlando, so if you're looking for a single family home in Orlando, is the rent just going to always forever increase?
I think it has. I mean, it's eventually got to stop at some point.
You would
It
hope
can't keep
so.
going up forever.
Sorry, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I don't know. Affordability is an issue. It's like you have mortgage interest rates going high, but prices aren't coming down. You have people looking. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day, and they were saying the same thing I was saying. It's like, yeah, listen, I got a house, I'd love to move, but if I sell my house with all this equity in it, where am I going to go? Either way, I'm going to be paying an ass load of money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. You have to like move out to the boondocks, and even then, like, I mean, Shannon started working for a job inside of Gainesville, and so I started looking at like places up there, even like away from UF, like far away from UF. The prices are still crazy. It seems nuts to me.
We'll see. I mean, I think supply and demand, like we said, that's kind of the main economic driver of anything in a marketplace. But we're in an interesting time now too, where we'll see what happens just globally with the world, what's going on with different currencies, and then also election years are always big for movement on stuff. So
Again, like when you're talking movement, Carlos, is it going to be that big of a movement? Like,
we don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's to be determined. So supply and demand, I think, is kind of the foundation, and there's just other
yeah,
things in the mix for this time that could add certain ingredients to the recipe
that's the
of
thing.
potential change.
People blame Airbnbs and say Airbnbs are the cause of it. Everyone's buying Airbnbs, so there's less housing. And, that's what I was saying. The stats kind of refute that, where it's like, no, there's such a small supply. They blame the same thing on hedge funds buying houses.
Mm-hmm.
Again, small aspect of it, but still, it does it, but it's not the main cause. It comes down to the simple fact that although interest rates have gone up, prices did not come down because of supply. People are still looking to move.
Yeah. Well, isn't
I
that
think
the thing though? Is like they're in a house where the rents are continuing to go up, so they're like, "This is ridiculous. I got to go restart." And so they're like, "All right, I'm leaving here. Going to go rent another house that maybe is at a lower rate, but then it's just going to go up." And so then they just kind of like keep repeating a cycle. No, not a factor.
No, I think there's more. I think there's so many factors. It's like it's so many pieces to a puzzle. The reason why we had price declines before was a mass layoff of, or not layoff, but shutdown of houses, of mortgages, and then houses being foreclosed on. Supply, it happened fast and sudden. It wasn't like right now, like, yes, foreclosures are happening. Yes, people are leaving. Yes, builders are building. It's a trickle. It's like happening at this pace where it's like, it's not sudden. So you don't have a big hit to pricing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference, is like back in 2008, everything happened so fast. You'd have 50 houses coming on the market, all from the same bank at one time.
Right.
They're trying to move them fast because they want the cash quickly.
Right.
And so Airbnbs could do that too, right? Like if you need money, you will sell your Airbnb to cover your debt so you don't get foreclosed on, so you don't get, your loan called. But again, like, how many is that? It's not going to do a whole lot. And those are not in typical suburban areas. The majority of them are in these destination areas, beaches, mountains. They're not in your typical cookie cutter neighborhood that's in a good school district that's close to shopping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So like, let's look at the Orlando market. I don't know if you heard me when you walked away. So the Orlando market, I don't see people building. I mean, they're building houses on the outskirts. So I guess maybe somebody who lives on the inside moves to outside, and now that house is opened up. But like, they're just building apartments pretty much in Orlando, all over the fucking place. So I can see apartment supply increasing and the price going down there, but nobody's building single family homes around here. So if you're looking for a house in the Orlando area to rent, you're just shit out of luck. Like, those prices are always going to be that way because supply, unless something crazy happens.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I don't know. I mean, I don't see things getting cheaper anytime soon. I think in some areas they will, but again, I think as long as people have money to spend, they are going to do it because they're worried about the same thing we're worried about. Like, is it going to go cheaper? No. Oh my God. Like, this is as cheap as it could get. Like, this is a deal. Let me buy this. I've been searching for a home for so long. Like, here's one that came on slightly fucking cheaper. Let me jump on it. You would need income to go away too. And I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
Why is income going away? What's happening in our economy that's going to say, and that was the other thing that was a perfect storm, is the amount of, because of all the places shutting down. Yeah. Layoffs were happening in mass. I don't see that now. I mean, in the news last year, it was like all the tech companies were laying people off. But again, that was in a...
Hey, National Geographic just laid off all their staff writers. I think that's a different problem.
All like fucking 2 of them? It's fucking National Geographic. Like, how does that play? Does it even exist?
It's just a random joke.
I know.
I saw. Okay, so then our income's going to rise. That's the next question, right? So if housing's going to continue to be unaffordable...
Income's not going to rise.
I know. So what the fuck is going to happen? That's
see.
what I'm
Time
confused about. I'm like...
No. That's where I think is what's going to happen, is why things like Pad Split are happening. I personally believe that owning houses is going to become something that is rare. That the average American, what we were sold as the American dream, right? Yeah. That sales pitch that they gave us, I feel like the banks gave us to buy mortgages, the American dream was to have this. I think 2 things are going to happen. One, I think housing is going to become eventually so unaffordable, our kids or kids won't be able to own them. It'll be a renter nation. And 2, I think we're going to see a 40-year mortgage. Because and once you extend out that amortization period, then all of a sudden the payments go down. And all that does is make the banks
more money.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that I think could happen, and this is like, what do you call it? Like, I don't know, is it red herring? What is that the rare thing that could happen? That, like, one thing that I think that could happen that I think is a long shot is and I've been speaking of this on our show previously, is the collapse of our currency.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what Carlos was kind of alluding to earlier when he was talking about currency.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't. Maybe that was when I walked away. I didn't hear that. But yeah, I think the collapse of our currency and the whole crypto thing going on, I think could be a huge war too. So there you go, currency collapse and war, and not just war somewhere else. I mean, it would have to be hitting our home turf. It would have to somehow hit us to a point to where our entire industries were distraught.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I wouldn't look forward to a future like Ready Player One where there's literally like mobiles stacked on each other.
But that wasn't for everybody, and that's the thing. Is like I feel like that could happen, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And the reason why I say that is because there's different classes of people. And so it's not like in Ready Player One, everybody lived in those. That was the lower class, and you saw how they depicted those people. Those were the consumers, the people who didn't really work, that just wanted to play. They were addicted to this alternate reality, and so that's where they lived. And I don't see anything wrong with that, because if you don't want to progress your life, like, okay, like,
yeah.
Even in China, like, I've never been to China, so I feel like anything I would say would be but I just feel like those tenement buildings, you don't see the wealthy people living there. I feel like there's class levels of people regardless, and you will always have the lower class living in these things. And I think what makes America great is what at least used to make America really great was the ability to progress through the classes if you had the desire to progress through those classes. And I think that as long as we maintain some of these things and these abilities, I think we'll do that. I just think it makes it tougher with inflation stealing our income.
Yeah, agreed. It's interesting though to look at it as like a parent, right? Because like, I mean, what we're ultimately talking about is like the paragraph of lower, middle, and upper class really shifts a lot, right? The middle will get smaller. You're saying the upper will get smaller and the lower will increase, right? Essentially.
Like the class, the quantity of lower class, not their money, but the quantity of people in it.
Yes,
I 100% think that's going to increase.
So when you look at like my kids, right? Like my oldest son is 12 years old. You've got a daughter who just graduated high school, soon to.
About to, yeah, she's going to be a senior.
All right, going to be a senior, and so you look at them and you go, "All right, kid, what are you great at? Like, what is it that's going to make you happy for the rest of your life?" My son's amazing at biology and reptiles. And it's like, okay, kid, so I think you have a great passion at this. You're going to be happy with this for the rest of your life. Like, you'll have success in that industry as much as you can in that industry. But I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to afford anything.
It's not. Yeah, that's not how the world works, bro.
But like, isn't that like an interesting I feel it's interesting, right? Because I feel like the dynamics, like we're talking about how America has changed. Like, what's the American dream, right? And we went through this phase of like, you go to work and you get a house for cheap. You have a family, you get a car, you progress, right? And I feel like we've gone through a cultural shift of like, well, you know what? Maybe that's not the dream. Maybe the dream is to be a little bit happier and, do something that interests you. But some of those people are shit out of luck because nothing's affordable.
Yeah, well, I still feel like that's the American dream. When you really boil it down, family is the American dream. It's like the ability to
argue with you there.
Yeah, and I think having a good job is also the American dream. I just think that telling your kids that you could do what you want or what you have a passion for, I think is a lie. Nobody follows their passion initially. Passion comes with the freedom after working hard, and like, yes, eventually you work towards that. I mean, before I had my daughter, I was a philosophy major. Yeah, and if I really, again, what was I going to do? But as a single guy, it didn't matter. But then I became an accountant, not because I'm good with numbers. It's not my passion. I was good, and it was the highest paying job at the time. Then when I looked up, like, the graduation studies, I was like, oh, accounting. Fuck, I'm good with numbers. Let's do this. I need money to support this fucking kid I'm having.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing is it's like, one, they got to go out there and I don't think enough people explain that to their kids. Like, you need to find something that you can make money at initially.
Right.
And then you find your way in the world and you opportunities arrive to you, right? Like different things, like real estate was an opportunity that arrived to me based on the way the world was going. I couldn't plan for this. It's not like I woke up when I was 18 and was like,
this is what I'm gonna do. Yeah.
I
definitely agree with you. There's a journey that goes through that. And I don't know, maybe I'm just like starting to think like, you know, what was told to my parents' generation, what was told to my generation, and what I'm about to tell to my generation as they're starting to understand the real world and what's in it. It's like how much that story has changed. And then like trying to predict like, okay, we're already like the world is continuing to change. Like, how do you best prepare, you know, what you're going to say.
And it's also interesting. I feel like we've mentioned on an episode before of, I forget where exactly it came from, but just like polling kids around like Wyatt's age, probably maybe a little younger, like what they want to do when they grow up. And it was literally a majority of the people wanted to be like YouTube or some type of social media influencers, like kids growing up, like middle school, elementary school range. So that's interesting too, where we've talked about on the show too, like people putting out content or gurus or coaches, anything like that. There's such a huge supply of people that want to do that, but only a certain amount of people that are going to be effective and can make money and have a career and provide value and stuff like that.
So I have that conversation with
that's
my
like
kids.
When I was growing up, I think I still have it. Like when I was growing up, I wanted to be like Cal Ripken. Like I wanted to be like professional baseball player, professional second base. And now I feel like a lot of kids want to be, you know, they grow up on their iPads and I sound like an old person, but you know what I'm saying. You're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but I think it's the concept, the words we keep saying is I want to be, I want to be, or I want to do. And I think like one, we need to teach the kids the right stuff. So like the difference was back in the day versus today, like they didn't need to know all of the stuff that we do today, right? Like you could afford all those things. It was easy to do that, easier to do that, right? You get the job, progression of jobs, the economy was booming, industry was coming out. Like, I think the difference is like how we teach our kids nowadays. Instead of teaching them, like, go to school, like, you got to teach them the financing, about capitalism. You have to teach them these things. And I think ultimately, I think trades, I think cooking, I think farming, I think these are the things that people are overlooking. And I think those are the people that are going to become most needed in the world in the future. Not so much anything technology based. I think there's a class of people that will make a shit ton of money doing that. But I also think robots, AI, computers will continually put a lot of people out of work. But you need an electrician. You know, you need a plumber, you need a cattle rancher, you need a farmer, you need these people, you need a woman who knows how to help keep a home, to cook, to clean. You need all these things we have lost in 2 generations. In 2 generations of families, we have lost the skill. Like my mom is staying with us because of our new baby. You know what she brought? A sewing kit.
Nice.
My house doesn't have a fucking sewing kit. I went over to the thing and there was a pin cushion. And I was like, oh, a fucking pin cushion. My son's like, what's this? I was like, that's where you keep your pins. For what? For when you want to sew. What do you mean? For when you have a hole in your clothes, my mom would sew patches on them. Don't you just get new ones? No, you don't just get new pants when you have a hole in it. Your mom sews an ugly fucking patch on your knee. Then you go to school and your kids are like, oh, look at you. You have a fucking patch on your pants. And you're like, yeah, my mom sewed. So that's how it was. But we have lost that in 2 generations. We have lost those skills. And that's what I think is needed for that next generation. And then I think if you have that ability, you also won't need that much money because you're able... we only need the money because we have to continually buy all this shit. Buy a whole watermelon and know how to cut a watermelon versus buying the watermelon pre-cut for the extra $2.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. And I want to clarify my statement when I'm talking about like talking to my kids, because we've said it here, like, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? I hate that fucking question.
I hate it too.
Because I don't know many people that have achieved that. And like, I feel like a little bit of an unrealistic thing to like put to your kids. It's great to have dreams and aspirations, but to me, I'm more focused on like, what are you interested in? What gives you energy? What can you do more in that area? And make it like a bigger kind of like wider picture.
But you have to understand you're not going to make money doing that all the time.
So right.
Your kid can have a passion for turtles,
and
but
that's
how the
what
fuck
I'm saying.
Making money doing turtles?
You don't. It's a volunteer organization.
There you go.
You can though, but there's not many jobs in the world like that. Right. And so that's what I'm talking about though. Is like those are the conversations I'm like getting ready to have, the reality conversations, and like preparing them for what they need to understand and be ready to go do. And like we've had the same, like going back to YouTube, we've had the same thing. My son the other day, he was like exhausted, so I think his like brain was like blah, but he's like, yeah, I hate reading. I don't want to read. I can just learn everything off YouTube. So I had this like 30-minute conversation with him and like chased him down a logic rabbit hole of like, no, you're wrong. That's not
funny.
How old is your son?
12.
Yeah, my son's 8. I had a call from his teacher who said that he doesn't finish books. My daughter's a huge reader. Reading is huge in our family. You can stay up as late as you want in my family household if you are reading. That's it. If I catch you doing anything else, you're in bed. Anyway, so I bought him the Tuttle Twins.
The Tuttle Twins?
Phenomenal. It's a series of books. He's got every week. So anyway, Tuttle Twins is a great conservative family value book where it goes through and it follows these kids and you learn lessons on capitalism, budgeting, supply, demand, but they do it in a fun story picture. You know what I mean? Like the circus is all about like the demand of a circus and supply of tickets. Anyway, like he had a problem reading, so now he's got it every week. He reads a book, he studies it. My mom helps him, or his mom, or my wife, his stepmom, like they quiz him, and then on Sunday or Monday when he's with us, he gives a presentation and has to take a test on the book. And every week we do the same thing. And so he's learning all these different things that they don't teach in school. He has no idea. Like one of them was about
accountability.
Accountability was a book. Accountability, consequences, punishment, revenge. It was called the Golden Rule, where they teach you about like like ethics and value, morality. And like they don't teach that. And I feel like that's the basis we got to teach our kids, is like you start from this type of basis. And then like I feel like it's up to us as a family also. I think families are important. I know that's like a huge thing nowadays, but it's like back in the day, families worked together to better their entire family. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's where I think mobile home parks come in for me. It's like, I want my kids, and even for like John, like, let's say you wanted to invest in a mobile home park with me and you're like, Brandon, I want to be one of your investors. And you're like, here you go. Well, that residual income passes down. John dies. It goes to his kids, and it's those type of investments that I think as a family you make for your future generations. My ex, her family started a business years ago, like back in the early 1900s. Her family still gets the heirs all get dividend checks based on that company's performance, because they own the shares. It was bought out. You know how that all works. And they still have their shares for like 100 fucking years now. I don't know how long. And now crazy. All the kids, and when her mom dies, she'll get them. And they live off of these dividends. And it's like that family, whoever that guy and woman, the head of that household was, they did a good job. Right. They did a good job. They did a good job.
Yeah.
But I don't think we teach our kids that.
No.
Well, that's how I agree with one of your points too earlier. Like I love like homeschooling and like putting your kids through your own. Could you imagine if you taught like, and there are some books I've seen Tim Bratz do, like if you put your kids through like Think and Grow Rich and Power of Positive Thinking and stuff, but also those kids now, if they don't go to traditional college, they can learn a trade while they're like in middle school, high school, whether it's like agriculture.
Why don't we?
How cool of a business would that be? How cool of a business would that be if you charge like $25K and you go to someone that's wealthy enough, and you're like, hey, I'll be able to take like an acre of your land and make you fully self-sufficient with your own water, crops, animals and stuff. And you just set that up in like a month or whatever. Or electrician, whatever trades. Like if you just learn that and you're doing that like in high school, that'd be amazing. But I think it definitely seems like more people are homeschooling. But from when I was a kid growing up,
that was infinitely weird. It was weird back then.
Oh, you were weird. If you were homeschooled, it was
but that's weird. How the wealthy did it, though. So back in the day, all wealthy, rich, royal families, they all homeschooled their kids because they wanted to teach them certain things to help better the family in the family interest. And so that's what I'm gearing my house to. And I don't really care if that doesn't go with society. It's like, hey, listen, you could go do what you want, but if you expect any benefit from anything I've suffered and built, you will work for the family. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but you will not get an inheritance. You will not get any benefits. You will not be going on family vacations or staying any of our places because you chose your own path, and that's okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
But I feel like the family unit needs to come together, and I think when you do that, that's how you save money, John.
Yeah.
Because if you or your wife knows how to cook, if you or
yeah.
your wife knows how to garden, if someone knows how to raise a chicken, if somebody knows how to take care of electricity, or like just not buy the expensive shit in the store. My mom bought a whole cantaloupe the other day and cut it up, and I was dumbfounded. Why is this cantaloupe here? Why did we not buy chunks? Her generation
Bought the thing
did
and
that.
got it. Yeah.
They bought the raw vegetable or fruit and then chopped it up.
You
Our
buy
generation
chunks?
is like, yeah, we buy chunks. Guess what?
joking
When we don't
about
want to do it, we buy diced onions and tomatoes to put into our stuff, and you pay more for it. But that's our generation.
I'm still a dicer.
I'm trying to be better. We are progressing, like, as we've learned since COVID. I feel like COVID was the ultimate switch.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like we progressed, and we're like, holy shit, like all this is poison.
Yeah.
Like everything's trying to kill us. Like this is so expensive. We need to figure out how to do this for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to you talking about like a trade school and stuff like that. You know, it was interesting learning from my cousins at the same time I was going through high school, and they were going through high school, well, the equivalent in England. They do things differently over there. So like high school in its traditional sense, like ends, I think it's somewhere between 14 and 16. And then you choose to either go to a 2-year trade school or go to a 4-year university.
Bro, that's it.
And so it's like the path is painted for everybody. And the path currently, and I hope it changes because I fully agree with you, like these are the services and things that we need now. But it's like, I mean, you see it, right? Like somebody, I see it in the store, right? Like somebody, like they meet up with this family they know, and like a kid's graduating. They're like, oh, what college are you going to?
Yeah.
It's like if you say anything other than a college, the stigma is
stigma. It's a stigma.
that you're not making the right choice.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
Why?
Super
like,
weird.
Why is it? I think like I send my daughter on Instagram, like I get like tagged because I follow construction sites, and like I follow a lot of these women who are like tradesmen, like, you know, like there's one, like she's a drywaller, another one's an electrician, and they're posting like, here's how much I made, here's how much I charged for this job. And I'm like, motherfuckers are making 6 figures, you know, and I get it. That's not for everybody. And I'm not saying that, but it's like, I feel like if you brought back the way to raise your kids, you brought back the unit of the family, and you all looked at your family's interests better as like, here, I'm going to progress my family. I think like there's a need for a lot of these things. And I think there's a need for college, doctors, lawyers,
specialized education for sure.
Specialized education. But Carlos, I was going to tell you, there's a company out there called, and I'm going to botch this, I'd have to go online and look, Acres Compound or something like that. This guy, it's a genius concept. He brings back the concept of a family compound.
I've seen that on Instagram. Yeah.
And so he sets it all up for you. He will build he sells you the land. He will build your house, build you your chicken coops, get all your shit going.
Doesn't he build a family compound too?
Whatever you want. Like that's his concept is, you know, generation. I would love that.
I think it's a great business.
Phenomenal genius for thinking of it, but I love the concept of like how people should be thinking as a family. Like, it's a stigma to live with your mom, but I went to work in an Indian-based company out of college, and a lot of the Indian, like, and by Indian I mean like India, you know what I mean, like that type of Indian, and like that whole culture, like everyone I talked to, like, guys like, well, we're buying a 4,000 square foot house. I'm like, how do you afford that, man? Like, you're like my age.
3 generations.
That's what he said. He's like, well, it's me and my brother and my parents and my grandparents.
They're doing a pad split. Indian pad split.
And he was like, they were finishing the basement because that's where him, and when he found a wife, like that's where they would live. And I'm like, at first it was a weird concept for me.
Right. Because we're taught and like ingrained through culture here that success equals being on your own, having something big.
How wrong were we?
And too, I wanted to mention this earlier, not having to do hard labor. If you have a desk job where you get to sit down and have a house and you live on your own, you are successful. And that's the problem.
I think that's the problem. And like having my mom with me now, like, one, it's phenomenal because growing up, I was on that path in my 20s. I didn't see my family. I worked 80 hours, 100 hours, didn't even care. I was all so focused on money. But like after you start to lose people in your life, you really start to understand family matters. And I'm like, man, like this is really cool. Like I'm a grown man, but like I come to my house, like my kids are there, my mom's like helping, and like I was like, this is like, there's nothing wrong with this. I joke with my mom, she's building herself a new house. It's like, Mom, what if instead of building your new house, we build it here and we tear down my house and we make that new house bigger and we just build a family compound? He's like, no.
I feel like that's also certain cultures too. I feel like that's like Spanish culture and there's like some European where it's like the mom or the
they have it right.
Stays.
They have it right. That's the right way.
Yeah. It's pretty big in the Philippines too. A lot of our staff and investor views live that way. Yeah.
And so here we are as Americans thinking we know everything.
Yeah.
And like I think what we're realizing is that we might not know everything. And I was watching a video that was saying that in America this was also the thing until like the 40s and 50s happened. Yeah. And then that was when suburbia happened and everybody started leaving. But up until when we immigrated over here, like, so my family's all immigrants, right? When we immigrated over in the early 1900s, that was also what happened. And then the war happened, industry happened, and we were all like, I'm moving out.
Well, and the other thing too is it was affordable back then.
Yeah, you could.
No, it's not.
I don't know. But I think this is the way. I think I could see some shit happening. I think we go back to a time to when you buy the whole cantaloupe instead of the chop. You sew your clothes instead of throwing them out. I mean, I cannot speak enough to how much clothes we've wasted in my household because we don't know how to sew.
I have a sewing machine in my house.
Do you use it?
My wife does. I can hand sew.
Yeah. I mean, I took home ec. My mom, that little pin cushion, guess who made her that pin cushion? I did. Home ec in 8th grade. But my daughter says they don't have home ec anymore. Yeah,
no, they don't. It's so crazy. Like I'm a little worried about the generation that's coming up. Like that's yours is great, but the generation that is graduating and has graduated recently, whatever generation that is. Because like I go around my house, I install a sink over the weekend. I can fix a toilet. Like I can analyze any problem inside this house and go at it because my dad did that. Yeah. My parents have done everything in their house. They've never hired a contractor in their freaking life, except for when they required you for permitting. I think like plumbing once.
But time, how do you do that in this? So one, I could do that. I'm in the industry.
Right.
But you know what stops me? I hired someone to install my dishwasher because my wife made a joke that if it was left up to me, we wouldn't have a dishwasher. It would still be sitting out on the patio in a box.
But that's the thing, though, and I agree with you, right? And we've had this conversation about time. Like, I don't do the yard anymore. I have somebody do the yard because it's a waste of my time. But now my kids aren't seeing that work that I saw when I was a kid that taught me how to just every aspect of my life.
They're seeing you hire everybody out instead of doing it yourself. And I think it's such a such a conundrum because you want to be efficient, but then I don't know, man. Like,
time to get creative and show it in other ways, though. And maybe that's a higher and better skill to teach Wyatt is delegating, like taking a look, like a high level look and seeing where you can delegate, seeing what gives you energy, type stuff like that.
I agree, but I think there's still a need for it. It's like
oh yeah, absolutely.
Teach your kid to take over the company, but like, do you want to teach your kid how to be the CEO, or do you want to teach your kid how to go and fix a toilet and then rise up through your real estate company, learn construction, then learn management, then handle rent, and then now he knows? It's just it's a philosophical type of question. Yeah. Where it's like, what way's better? And I don't know the answer to that.
I do think there's like a healthy balance.
Yeah, but it's so true that standard American education just teaches you how to be a good employee, kind of fall in line, and
they say that's what Rockefeller. I mean, he's the inventor of the education system, right? And
just like Carnegie invented the pharmaceutical industry, those motherfuckers.
God, they really got us.
One series. To kind of put an end here, because I do need a little break before my next meeting here. Tim Bratz is big on. Tim Bratz and Mark Evans are both big on. And I have it in my queue, but I haven't watched it. I think Papa T has watched it. The Men Who Built America, or The Men Who Made America. Have you guys seen that?
I have not watched that.
So that's supposed to be like an amazing series. So that's what I kind of want to check out, especially after watching the Arnold documentary, just seeing him come here, dominate do his own version of the American dream.
It also lies to you a little bit.
Does it?
I mean, they don't tell you the full truth. So, like, the interesting thing about Carnegie is, like, what he did is he wanted pharmaceuticals. He wanted people to buy drugs. So he took these scientists, sent them on a train all over the United States to all the medical schools, and basically got rid of, like, natural medicine in the United States because he forced, like, he made them change, like, through essentially propaganda at that kind of time, like, pharmaceuticals are better than anything natural. And so natural medicine was not taught for, like, I don't even know, 50, 60, 100 years. I don't even know. And still barely. And I'm not getting into the argument of are pharmaceuticals better than natural medicine or anything like that. But it's like they forced change without perspective.
It's a lot of consequences for that.
Because they were just chasing money.
I know, man, and we don't know the consequences, and whatever.
Right.
There's no
right.
This is why I just want my mobile home parks. I want residual income.
Yeah.
I want to be able to homeschool my kids. I want to be able to teach them the right way to live. I want to go back to basics.
Yeah.
It's just tough.
Exactly. It is tough.
But you don't necessarily need money to do all that. You could do it without money. Money just makes it a lot different. But it's funny because you make a lot of sacrifices to get the money to go back to basics when you could just be at basics to begin with.
Such a conundrum we live at. Hey, at least we're intelligent enough to have these conversations and realize that we should be thinking about it. And now you viewers can also think about it. Welcome to
good talk.
Yeah, good talk.
We'll find someone for Pad Split.
Yeah. If you know anybody that Pad Splits, we would love to have a conversation with them.
Let us know. Boom.
All right, everybody. Have a great week.
Lock and load, guys.